Hello, everyone, and welcome to Inspiring Hope. I'm your host, Lois Herman, here to shine the light on people who are making a difference in our world. And today, my very special guest is the founder of Genuinely You Limited. Gina Gardner is a master strategist helping individuals achieve happiness, success, and fulfillment, and business leaders to achieve sustained high levels of holistic, profitable success through conscious, enlightened leadership. So wonderful to have you joining us today, Gina. Welcome.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
And I was asking you, what would you like to talk about? Because there's so much you and I we've just had wonderful conversations. And what I loved, people know me as the author of Chronicles of Hope. And you said, "Oh, I want to talk about hope," which is perfect. And you have a book on hope.
I-
So tell us about you and your book on hope.
So, my work is all about personal empowerment and enlightened conscious leadership. And I believe very passionately that in order to lead others well, you have to lead yourself first.
Mhm.
And for me, enlightened conscious leadership is about leading with integrity, compassion, and the courage to do what's right rather than what's self serving.
Mhm.
And so I wrote the book actually during the pandemic
Yeah.
because everybody you spoke to was in a place of gloom and doom. And the thing that strikes me, one of the things that we as leaders need to do is to provide that sense of hope and possibility.
Mhm.
Because without hope, there are no possibilities. Everything is closed down, it's dark, it's narrow, it's limiting. When the reality is, however dark it may seem, the sun is still there. It's behind the clouds and it will come out tomorrow. And it's how do we navigate this challenging time till we can get to the place where the sun's shining?
So perfectly said. I cannot agree more. A lot of people say, well, hope is not that, it's not that high level. My feeling is hope is a bridge. You can't go from despair to joy overnight. You've got to have something to help you get there. So to me, hope is that connector, is that bridge, because there's so much fear out there, even now, right now. I mean, there was a lot of fear. Right now, the fear is ramping up again. And what we have to do is have hope for a beautiful, wonderful future in spite of what we're seeing in the news, shall we say, today. We have our own beautiful gardens, our pets, the different things that give us joy that we can focus on, that gives us the hope to make that bridge into the possibility for future.
I think that's really important. I talk about it being the conduit. So whether you're going to call it the
Yes,
bridge or the conduit,
same thing. Yeah.
what strikes me is that when we are in a place of darkness and despair, we are without inner resources.
Mhm.
They're hidden in plain sight. We believe that we're not enough, that what can I do? It's out, everything is out of my control.
Mhm.
When the reality is that we can make a difference by just being a version of us that comes from a place of hope. And I want to make the distinction because many people think that you're being a bit of a Pollyanna. You
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
everything is rainbows and unicorns. And, anybody who knows my life story will know that it's been anything but that. But the thing that makes the difference is when you recognize that however big the challenge is, it's not the challenge that defines us. It's how we approach that challenge that makes the difference.
Mhm.
And when we go through life, we generally speaking don't learn much when everything is going wonderfully well.
Mhm.
But we do learn when life throws all sorts of things at us. We learn how to be resilient, how to find our way through. And through that, we develop and grow at every level, but particularly spiritually, I think. And we are going through very turbulent times.
Mhm.
If we lose hope and we come from a place of fear and lack, we have we believe that there's nothing we can do, that becomes our reality.
Mhm.
But if we have hope that we can make a difference, that life can be better, then the next thing is, well, what action can I take
Mhm.
that'll allow me to move a step closer? And so you're able to access the resources that you have and then share with other people's resources in order to make a better future. Without hope, you're going nowhere.
So well put, and you're exactly right. And that's where the shadow side, the shadow element of our society would want us to be in despair and hopelessness. And therefore, you're more controllable when you're at that low level vibration. I speak a lot of vibrational frequency. When you can raise your vibrational frequency with the conduit of hope, with getting outside and grounding and being around nature, finding things that give us joy, listening to beautiful music, listening to the birds, just you're finding the simple things that give us the hope and the appreciation, because if we appreciate what is around us, then that lifts us because appreciation grows, right? So we have to
Appreciation, gratitude is so powerful
huge.
that
Yeah.
even when things are really, really challenging,
Yes.
if you're grateful for decent plumbing or a nice cup of tea or a friend's rung you, or you
Right.
look outside and I'm looking at my courtyard at the moment, it's full of summer color.
Yeah.
That gratitude, you have to be in the moment. That's the
Mhm.
first thing. Because lack
Absolutely.
of hope is either worrying about the past or being anxious about the future.
Absolutely.
Where if you're in a place of gratitude, you're in the moment, and
Mhm.
it's easier to access hope when you're in the moment.
And we're creating our future based on our attitude of today. So if you
Absolutely.
want to have a beautiful future, you've got to be beautiful today. And then that creates that ripple. If we sit here and ruminate over the woulda, shoulda, couldas of the past, we create more of the same. And the past is gone. It's a memory. Let it go. Take the nuggets of learning and
Yes.
apply it to this moment of time. And then as we keep ourselves in that beautiful uplifted state right now, we are propelling that into our future.
When I look at life as it is now, and I think that people who are listening to this they're going to be in the top 5% of the world's
Mhm.
population in terms
Yes.
of the life that we lead.
Right.
Isn't it interesting how in the Western world that we very quickly look at all of the negative stuff and all
Mhm.
of the things that are beyond our control and forget just how privileged and how lucky we are?
Absolutely. Yes.
And, our beliefs can limit us or
Mhm.
they can empower us. And I think anybody listening to this, if you are somebody who feels that you've lost hope, start to look at the beliefs that underpin that. You
Right.
know, start to think about what is coloring your world,
Mhm.
and then go back to what we were just talking about, appreciating, being
Right.
grateful. Just spend, a little bit of time each day. I talk about collecting gratitudes and
Mhm.
making it easy.
Mhm.
Um, and then at the end of the day, just scanning the day and looking at what are the things that I've been grateful for today and just choose five.
Mhm.
And then you go to bed on that upbeat note. You talk
Yes.
about vibrations, so do I, that your
Mhm.
vibration when you go to sleep is one that's going to be more empowering. And then if you do that on a regular basis when you wake up, you'll be more easily able to see the sunshine
Mhm.
rather than, oh God, I've got this and life's difficult and I've not got enough and all of those thoughts. We can
Absolutely.
recalibrate the brain.
I read a book some years ago called The Magic by Rhonda Byrne. She wrote The Secret. A lot of people have heard of The Secret. And one of her exercises in there is exactly what you're talking about. It's called the Magic Rock. And she suggests that every night as you go to bed, you have a magic rock by your bed. And it's really there to remind you to do this exercise. But the exercise is to lay there and think of the best thing that happened in the day
Mhm.
and then say, "Thank you, thank you, thank you for the best thing that happened." And what happens is instead of going to bed ruminating over the all the horrible things that happened, You force your mind to think about all the good things and you pick the best thing. And sometimes it's kind of hard because there are a lot of really good little things that are small little, I call them God winks or miracles, that will just go unseen unless we focus on them and we think about that. And then guess what happens? We sleep so soundly because we fall asleep with a positive thought, which creates, now I can rest.
I think we've been talking about things at an individual level, but I also believe it's incredibly important whether you're a parent or you lead a team or you have a business and you're a business leader, that you become a beacon of hope for other people.
Absolutely.
I think we get so used to complaining and looking at the negative. I mean, the research that they've done on complaining is quite interesting. That if something goes wrong, on average, we tell 37 people.
Really?
When things go well, on average, we tell 5.
Wow.
The other challenge is that when we complain, each time we complain, it's a bit like a fishing story.
Mhm.
It gets a little bit more exaggerated. So it starts off as a complaint that's a bit about the size of a goldfish and it ends up the size of a whale. So I was on the phone for 10 minutes becomes I was on the phone for an hour and 10 minutes and
Mhm.
listening to that blooming music. And we have the capacity, each of us, how we generate our vibration, whether we're going to be energy batteries and help fill people up, or we're going to be energy vampires and we are going to really drain their energy. And I think for me, energy batteries, a big part of why they are so powerful and so positive is because they generate a sense of hope and possibility.
Mhm.
Whereas the vampires are all about what's gone wrong and how terrible it is, and they slurp the very lifeblood out of you.
It is so true. Even when we work with clients and we've done a beautiful session and they see this beautiful future and they are glowing, and then they start to ruminate over, but this happened and stop. I will absolutely using NLP and pattern interrupt. Stop
Yes.
right now. Stop.
Yep.
Look at what you're doing to yourself. You're
And
revivifying the drama of the past. Let it leave it there. That's a hot potato. Don't friggin' pick it up.
yeah,
Look at the flowers, look at the positive, focus on the positive, and really change your mindset, your mind talk, because we become what we think about. And so many
absolutely.
people are ruminating and spinning over the stuff that they have been through. And you and I both have been through a lot of drama, trauma in our life, different stories, but we have not had an easy life by any stretch. And yet we have developed that the Teflon, I'm not a big fan of Teflon, but it's gonna roll off because we don't want it to stick to us. We want to glow with the positive. So therefore, it's a conscious choice that we make, and through that conscious choice, it becomes second nature.
Everything we do is a choice.
That's right.
Even when we don't choose actively, it's a choice. And it's often when we let things drift that actually the consequences are more far reaching. But one of the things that strikes me is if you're a business leader and the economic climate at the moment is challenging,
Mhm.
but more millionaires are made at times of downturn than made in boom.
Mm.
If you look at, the challenges that we all encounter,
Right.
and we're not into a trauma competition. This is not comparatonitis. My trauma is
Right.
bigger than your
No.
trauma because it's all relative. But one of the things that strikes me is if we as adults don't demonstrate to young people and to children that, yeah, it is really challenging at the moment,
Mhm.
but out of it, you're going to be stronger. You're going to have
Right.
resilience.
Mhm.
You'll learn how to cope with the day-to-day difficulties in life. We're doing our young people such a disservice by being constantly focusing on the what's not right rather than the what is. And if it's not right, well, what can we do to make it better rather than just bemoaning the fact that something isn't working? And I'm reminded of a meeting that I was in with colleagues from different organizations. And it was a challenging time, and everybody was moaning. And we met once a week, and by week 4, we were still rehashing the same old molds, and I just couldn't stand it anymore. I was chairing the meeting, and I said, "We've got to stop."
Mhm.
Or it's like sitting in a rocking chair and expecting to go down a motorway at 100 miles an hour. We're
Mhm.
actually going nowhere.
Mhm.
So rather than focusing all this energy, all of this vibration on what's not working, look at the assembled experience, expertise, creativity that there is in the room. Why don't we focus on what do we see as the solutions? And
Absolutely.
very quickly, the energy in the room changed. People started to feel more resourced. They were using right brain thinking, not left brain thinking.
Mhm.
And we came up with some really constructive solutions that made life better. And then we were able to make representation to the powers that be for them to change policy, which made things even better. But we
Exactly.
could have spent a lifetime in that rocking chair moaning about what was going on, getting nowhere.
And that's what's happening in our you're in the UK, I'm in
Yeah,
America, and there's so much of this bemoaning that's going on in
yeah,
the social circles and in the media that it creates that paralysis, that
yes.
spinning. And you're right, we need leadership. We need leaders to say there is a future, there is a good future. We do, each of us have our own role to take to make a step toward that future. We can't just sit back and point fingers and accuse and blame. We have to do what we can for
Mhm.
ourselves to, like you were saying, enlightened leadership starts with the self, right?
It does. I'm reminded of how many people say, "But there's only me, what can I do?" I
Mm,
remind you what it's like to spend the night in bedroom with a mosquito
mm,
and know that small things can be really, really powerful and irritating. You have the power to make a difference. You can impact on the quality of your own life and the lives of those around you. So work where you can to
right.
make that positive difference. And I think that if we all do that, then we start to shine the light. And that light, when we come together, illuminates in a way that as an individual we can't do. But if we think it's all dark and doom and gloom, that's the reality that you will experience.
Mhm.
But if you believe that it's possible to make constructive and positive steps towards a better world and that you take action, that too will be the reality.
Absolutely. And you work with individuals, small business leadership. How do you work with individuals or leaders? Like, are you working with organizations, or tell us a little bit about how you work with people.
So, I work with individuals, and that's sometimes around their personal development and
Mhm.
spiritual development. Other times, it's leaders at every level of experience. I also work with whole organisations, generally speaking, under 200 employees and under £10 million turnover.
Mhm.
Um, but I've also worked in corporates and do facilitation and keynote speaking and so on. So there's a really wide range, but at the core of everything I do is becoming empowered, stepping into your own power to become the leader of your life, and then looking for your purpose, living life with purpose,
Mhm.
and then looking at how you can be of service and make world a better place, leave a living legacy.
Mhm.
And I think many people talk about legacy about when they die
Mhm.
without recognizing that every moment of every day we are leaving a living legacy in every word we speak, every action we take or not.
Mhm.
So a really simple example is the word thank you.
Mm.
Lois, thank you so much for inviting me on the
That's
show. It's
right.
been an absolute pleasure. Thank you. They've got very, very different tonality. They leave a very different legacy.
Mhm.
And, for those who are watching this, just be mindful of
Mhm.
the legacy that you're leaving. That
Mhm.
every time that you are critical of people without it being a developmental opportunity, every time you're unkind, every time you are kind, every time that you imbue hope or you imbue despair, you are leaving that living legacy. So make sure it's a positive one.
That's right. Yeah. And there are a lot of people who are, um, sh sharing negative energy. And what happens in this day and age, those of us who are aware and noticing, it's not so much about the other person. I can see, oh, that person needs help. That
Yes.
person is troubled. If they're being so unkind to another person, then that to me signifies that the person who's being unkind is troubled at some level. And I'm going to send them positive. However, I'm also going to avoid being around them because I don't, again, those are the energy vampires. If
Yes.
people are so toxic and so angry and so spewing this negative um, stuff that to other people, they're being hateful, harmful, then it goes back to them. There's a problem with them because I want to be kind. That is who I am. That is the foundation. I want to be kind. I want to be uplifting, and I want to be around others who share. Now, that doesn't mean that there's not troubles that we have to go through and rise above every day. However, if we do that with our divine guidance, with our spiritual awareness, with our mental emotional awareness as well, the outcome is very different. And so as a leader in the past, I have been a corporate executive leader and I now lead a small team of amazing people. However, they more often lead me because we're all inspiring one another. And when you have a group of people who are of like mind, we support one another in the whole momentum. And that's what we need to do through this. We need to come together and really be supportive of one another in this crazy world we lived in because we've signed up to be here. And we will carry this through. And what we have to do, as you have so eloquently said, is we've got to work on ourselves. We have to make sure that we're leading ourselves, leading our monkey mind to where we are speaking, saying, thinking, and doing purposefully according to our divine mission, our purpose, and taking action accordingly. Not sitting back, pointing fingers, blame, shame. It's what are you doing to make a difference?
I think that's absolutely vital that we all have the opportunity to make a positive difference.
Mhm.
However small that may seem, I believe that it ripples out and that
Absolutely.
a small kindness done, even if it's simply saying to somebody and meaning it, "How
Mhm.
you doing?" And waiting for that person, giving them an opportunity to share with you.
Mhm.
But I also want to say that being kind does not mean you're a doormat. And I think part of how we need to show up is within our strength.
Mhm.
And, many clients, come and they've got a problem with a relationship or that they're unhappy with their boss or whatever's going on. And they come and the initial thought is, "I want you to do something that will change them."
Mm.
I'm very clear, you can't change them, but you can actually change the way in which you interact with that person. And if you are fighting fire with fire, you're going to get a bigger fire. If you
Mhm.
burn your bridge, it's a long way round. That doesn't mean you kowtow, but it does mean that you can start to learn how to be assertive in a really constructive and kind way. And
Absolutely.
that then allows you to engage with that person differently. And if you engage with them differently, more often than not, you get a different response.
A different outcome. Absolutely. But what is the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over
Oh,
again, right?
my
Expecting a
favorite
different
quote
outcome.
of all time, that. Yeah.
Yeah, so the important thing is to recognize that this is not productive.
No,
It's not constructive. So change, redirect, and this is part of coaching and training is redirect the situation to where there's a chance for a positive outcome.
absolutely. And if you come at a place from love,
Mm,
and love isn't pink and fluffy,
mhm,
in my experience, and I ran an organization with 100 people, staff, um, I could hold them to account in a much more exacting way because they knew that I cared.
mm, mhm,
And one of the greatest pleasures was when, young staff, particularly when they were going off for promotion, would come and say, "I want to thank you because when you told us that this wasn't our best, I recognize it's because you had faith that I could do better, and you gave me faith in myself when I didn't have it myself."
Mhm.
And I think that's what we're here to do. Those people who are in positions of authority, it's not about being authoritarian. It is
No.
about recognizing the potential in other people and nurturing it
Mhm.
and growing it. And if you're a business owner out there, we're going into a skill shortage
Mhm.
and people are going to vote with their feet. You need to be recognizing that your staff are your absolute treasure.
Mhm.
Nurture them, grow them, and that will pay dividends for them as individuals, for you as an individual, and for your company.
Right. Exactly. And how do people find you? You have multiple different ways that you serve and different avenues that you reach to people. How can people find you to for your own coaching services and for other opportunities?
I'm on LinkedIn, on Facebook, but
Mhm.
if you're interested in exploring whether I can help you and support you in your journey, then the best thing to do is to email me. It's Gina, Gina, at genuinely, then there's a hyphen u.com. That's Gina at genuinely hyphen u.com. There's
Great.
loads of stuff on YouTube if you go to Gina, Genuinely You with Gina Gardner, or listen to the radio show,
Mhm.
which is on brushwoodmedia.com. That's Gina Gardner and Friends, and you can find on the archive. Lois is there; she's done a great interview too, and so lots of different ways.
And people need each other, and we need people like you to help through this crazy time because people are dealing with different stresses than we've ever had before in many ways. There are a lot of financial stresses for small business owners and big business owners. There's a lot of frustration around keeping staff happy and engaged, and so I would highly recommend to reach out to Gina for her enlightened leadership that comes from a more spiritual, heart centered approach than the old patriarchal mandates.
Thank you. Just to
Yeah.
say, I've got a free spiritual blueprint. If people would like a copy of that to audit where they are now, you can email me again, Gina at genuinely-u.com, and we'll get one
Okay.
of those for you. And we were talking about hope, and here's an intentional journal about hope, and it gives you the opportunity to actually embed um, working in a more constructive way around engendering hope with other people. So you can find that and all my other books on Amazon.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Do you have any last thoughts that you would like to share at this pivotal time in our history? Um,
I would say you're the common denominator. You take yourself into every moment of every day.
mm,
So it makes sense, doesn't it, to be the best version of you that you can be. And today's best version is the foundation for tomorrow and tomorrow's and tomorrow. So ultimately, investing in you, growing and giving yourself the tools with which to manage the challenges of living in order to support and help other people, I would say to you, is the best legacy that you can leave.
I love that. Thank you so much, Gina. It's been wonderful getting to know you, and I wish you all the best. We will stay connected. I appreciate.
Oh, yes, I'm sure we will. Thank you very much indeed.
You're very welcome, and I'm just going to invite people, if you like our content, please like, subscribe, and share. And until next time, everyone, look up, stay positive, and be the light in someone's day. God bless.